for 4 years. I was an Army Reserve Center as a truck driver here in Stillwater. After that, I went to Fort Drum, New York. Pretty much the main job there was snow removal. They get about 104 inches a year, and the average temperature is 36 degrees. It's a real fun place. We used to, during blizzard conditions, make sure that all the roads remained open to the federal buildings, hospitals, and we got key employees to their jobs so everything didn't just shut down. They don't shut down during a snowstorm. My main passion about wanting to be county commissioner is I want the roads fixed. I know there's not a lot of money. I know there's not a lot of equipment. We got District 2 has one grader for 390 miles of roads. That needs to change. That's a big problem. My main focus would be looking into federal grants. There's a Safe Streets for America Act that was enacted in February of 23. It went into place, got $5 billion in it. $3 billion are still there to be given away up till 2026. There is a part of that where Pawnee County does qualify to get a $25 million grant. Doesn't mean we'll get it, but they should apply for it. That would pretty much fix every blacktop road that's in District 2. Looking into military dermo program, you can ask for acquisitions of equipment, for construction equipment, before it's sold. The only thing you have to do is you have to pay the cost of shipping. It comes out of Barstow, California. And that's pretty much, I know that there's a lot of aspects to it. You have to fund the county. You're in charge of all real property that belongs to the county. You have to work with the excise board on the final budgeting of the county. There's a lot of moving parts to being county commissioner, and in my opinion, it's a 24/7 job. It's not anything that can be taken lightly or part-time. But my main aspects would be getting the roads back in some kind of shape, putting a ditch line back in where they should be. I don't know why for the last 20 years that everybody has filled in the ditches. I don't understand why that practice is happening. Maybe there's something I don't know, but I've asked a lot of people and nobody's told me. Just the roads, that's my main focus. That's what I care about. And even if the job didn't pay anything, I'd still be running for it. So, that's my focus. Thank you. Again, my name's Larry Adams. Everybody knows me as Bucky.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Next, we have Brian Donnelly.
Hello, I'm Brian Donnelly. I've worked for the city of Cleveland for the last 27 years. Before that, I was a welder over at Dave Cohen Jennings for 13 years. And that's basically what I've done my whole life. Worked on water lines and stuff for the city of Cleveland and the streets, kept the snow and stuff off of them, and kept everything as best shape as we could for what we had. And that's about all that I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. Next, we have Joe Higgins.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. I want to thank Terry Fowler for putting this on. This is important. I'm glad that all of you took the time to show up tonight. It's important that you get out and vote, mainly is the main thing. So I just want everybody to mainly to be aware, that the county commissioner job is a lot more than just taking care of the roads. You're running a business, and it's important that you're running that correctly and you're being a good steward of those funds. I've been in Pawnee County pretty much my entire life. My wife and I, we live just north of Pawnee, raising 2 boys, going to school here in Pawnee. We're heavily invested in Pawnee. We have commercial property, we got residential property. So what happens in Pawnee County is important to us, just like all of you. Like, we pay taxes. We want to make sure that the taxes are being used correctly and it's going to the right place, and the most is getting done with the funds available. We don't have a lot of funds available, so we just want to make sure that I want to make sure personally that those funds are being used correctly. So there's 3 things mainly that I would like to touch on that would be my priority, and then the reason that I'm running for county commissioner. And the one thing would be public safety. Just like the others touched on about the roads, yes, the roads are definitely important, but it's not the only job of the commissioner. But to make sure that the roads get repaired and maintained, the easements have to be cleaned. The easements haven't been cleaned in years. Anybody that's driven around here in District 2 recently, you come to an intersection, you're not going to see anybody coming. These easements need to be cleaned so that you can keep the ditch lines clean. You can keep the roads clean. You can keep them. You can maintain them. They're going to constantly need work. They need a lot of work. But to get that accomplished, we have to take care of the easements. These trees got to be cleaned back. We got to have the room to work on the roads. So we've got to take care of these easements. That would be my first priority. My second priority would be interdepartment cooperation, interdepartmental cooperation, interagency cooperation, mainly that your elected officials are getting along. We don't have a lot available here, so what little bit we have, we need to be able to get along. All the elected officials, the agencies, the departments need to be able to get along together. I understand there's going to be disagreements, but let's be adults. Let's get together, let's work them out. Pawnee County doesn't have the funding for all this infighting. Let's get together, let's find some common ground, and let's work through it. The third thing would be that make this be more available. So any complaints or questions or comments, it'd be a lot easier for the citizens of Pawnee County to be able to get a hold of the commissioner and let them know what's going on. If there's a tree down in the road, or there's a whistle washed out, or the road's washed out or something. A little bit easier way, work on streamlining the process of getting a hold of the commissioners, or getting a hold of the commissioners so that they can figure out what needs to be done, so that can get repaired, so that we can all go about our day and go about our lives. So mainly those are the three main things that I want to touch on would be my priorities, and why I want to run for county commissioner, and why I want to be county commissioner for District 2. And that's pretty much, so I'd appreciate your vote. I'm Joe Higgins, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. We also have Joe Mashburn, who was unable to be here today. Next, we will introduce our court clerk candidates. We have Charity McPeak was unable to be here today, and we do have Isla Potts.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I am the current court clerk. I've been employed with Pawnee County for 11 years. 8 of those have been in the court clerk's office. I live in Cleveland. I have 2 kids, 4 grandkids. I am invested in Pawnee County. I love my job. I love what I do. And I would like to continue serving the citizens of Pawnee County as the court clerk. So I'm asking for your vote on June 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Potts. Our moderator, Lisa McLennan, will read Charity's intro.
To the citizens of Pawnee County, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Charity Bryan McPeak. I am seeking your support for Pawnee County Court Clerk on June 18th. I was born and raised in Pawnee County. I am the proud mom of 2 children, my son Cale, who is currently a sophomore at Pawnee High School, and my daughter Emmy, who is a freshman currently at Oklahoma Christian Academy in Edmond, and will be starting Pawnee High School this fall. Growing up in Pawnee County, watching my dad, Royce Bryan, serve as county commissioner for 2 terms intrigued me to want to serve others. I hope to be able to serve as your next court clerk. A little bit about my experience for this position. I gained 2.5 years experience working in the Logan County District Attorney's Office prior to moving back to Pawnee in 2020. At that time, I joined the Pawnee County Court Clerk's Office under the late Janet Dallas, then continued with the current court clerk, Isla Potts, until March of 2023. While working in both offices, I gained great knowledge in how our court system works. I was able to work firsthand with many attorneys, judges, and law enforcement. So much goes on within the court clerk's office daily that it is impossible for one person to do it all. It takes a great team with everyone pitching in to handle the daily tasks. Within the office, you are generally assigned an area in which you become responsible for while still helping with phone calls for payments, filing legal documents for the attorneys that come in, handling bonds, or being the first to help a new couple obtain their marriage license. I am not claiming to know everything because I know there is so much more to leading the office, and I believe the experience I do have, and with the help of the current employees, I can handle it. Building relationships with our district attorney's office, sheriff's office, judges, attorneys, and other county officials is something I am committed to doing. With my experience, knowledge, and passion for our county, I believe I would be a great leader to carry on the great works of Pawnee County Court Clerk's Office. So I ask for your support on June 18th. Vote Charity Brian McPeak for Pawnee County Court Clerk.
Next, we have our sheriff candidates. First, we have Sean Price.
Good afternoon, everybody. Would like to thank everybody that showed up today. So quick background on me, I've got 34 years experience in law enforcement, everything from jailing, dispatching, patrol, investigations, all of it. I've also ran some of the largest facilities in the state for the Department of Corrections, such as LARC down in Lexington and OSP, or Big Mac down in McAllister. I've been in charge of those. Some of my credentials: I'm a firearms instructor, long-range rifle instructor. I'm also a narcotic and patrol canine instructor and trainer. I've also attended National Emergency Management Training and Staffing Analysis Training. I've got that behind me. After I retired, some people come to me and want me to run. They were just complaining about how this current department is mismanaging the budget. They're not responding to calls. They're not following up on investigations, and they're not cooperating with the other county offices or any of the other agencies in the state or in the county. So I went looking into it, and sure enough, I found out a lot of things. I'll try to hit them real quick. We're on a limited time. This department pretty much has done everything for wants instead of needs, okay, or for their own personal gain. And it's just totally annihilated the budget. We've got to get that back under control. They've done some things like in the jail, it used to average about $600 a month for the medical, for the inmates. And that's because they was using local doctors and nurses. They were using their brain and being good stewards of the public. Well, the current administration took that and privatized it. The contract for that was $17,000 a month, okay? So it went from $600 to $17,000 on the food bill. They used to average about 92 cents a meal, okay? They was averaging $5,000 a month to feed all the inmates. They went to a privatized food service. When they did that, that went up to $3.14 a meal. So you went from $5,000 a month to $16,000 a month to pay for your food service in the jail. That alone was horrible. The prior administrations ran the department with 25, 26 people total, jail, everything, deputies, all of it. They got up to 44 at one time and created a $300,000 increase in just salaries alone. This county can't afford that kind of stuff, okay? Also, some other stuff they did just for wants and not needs that just benefited them. They went to an 800 megahertz radio system. Nobody else in this county operates on 800 megahertz radio. Everybody's off the digital. The prior administration had just upgraded that system, spent about $60,000 on it. Well, they just abandoned it and went to 800 megahertz. So what did that help you out? Nothing. But it helped them out because Tulsa PD runs on 800 megahertz. So while they're using their county equipment over doing their private security gigs at Walmart, instead of calling on the phone and getting dispatched and saying, hey, this is Walmart security, I've got a shoplifter, can you send me an officer? They get on the radio and say, this is county whoever, request an officer, I got one in custody. It just saved them having to get on the phone and wait longer for an officer. It made it sound more important. Back in 2021, they received just under $250,000 in COVID funds, COVID relief funds. Most of that was spent on vehicles that they didn't need. The main fleet that they already had was only 2 to 3 years old. but they didn't look cool. So they went and bought a bunch of black SUVs that, number one, SUVs aren't good for rural patrol. They're not made for it. They're made for metropolitan areas. They're very expensive to work on. Just to change the water pump out of one of them is $2,000 because it takes so much to get to it, okay? So that's another bunch of money wasted. What I'm getting at here is whenever he came in, he said he was going to bring you a better brand of law enforcement. And he was going to do that by spending all this money and upgrading everything, okay? The prior administrations averaged about 180 to 200 felony cases a year, okay? This administration averages 32, okay? And to put that in perspective for you, Cleveland PD and Pawnee PD average more than they do, and they only cover 3 square miles. Pawnee County covers 595 square miles, okay? So I don't think that there was an 88% decrease in crime in Pawnee County just because somebody new got elected and they went and spent a bunch of money, okay? I don't think that happened. I think it's probably more evidence of the fact that what I was being told is correct, is that they're not going out, they're not responding to calls, they're not following up on investigations. Also, all that money they spent on the jail, the prior administration used to average 80 to 90 inmates all the time. This administration averages 35, and they're paying 3 times as much money to take care of 35 than there was for 80 or 90 before. With that being said, my administration, we're going to get this budget back under control. We're going to get back to a department that you can be proud of and that you can depend upon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Next, we have Rich Ensign.
My name is Rich Ensign. I've been a resident of Pawnee for the last 20 years. In 2013, I started working for the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office as a jailer and dispatcher. In 2014, I was reserve certified. 2016, I went to Pawnee Police Department. I served there for 3 years where I was K-9 officer and I was also sergeant. When I left in 2019, I went back to Pawnee County under the Mike Waters administration, and then when Varnell won, I chose to stay and work under his administration. In like 2022, I was sergeant. In 2023, I was chief deputy. In July of 23, I decided to step down from being chief deputy because of the things that were going on that I did not agree with. In January of this year, after a lot of current employees, former employees, and citizens had approached me about running for sheriff, I decided to resign from the sheriff's office completely and announce that I was running for sheriff. The 24 years prior to me being in law enforcement, I worked in printing in Stillwater. 20 of those years, I worked in a supervisor capacity. That being said, I've got around 25 years of supervisory experience. I've worked for 3 different administrations, 2 of them with the sheriff's office. I've seen everything that Mr. Price was talking about. I've seen what works. I've seen what doesn't work. I know the difference. I've been here for the last 10 years doing this job, serving the public. I was also one of the highest most productive deputies on the department. I've worked over 200 cases that have been prosecuted by the district attorney's office. I've done multiple investigations from sexual assaults to murders, you name it. I've done them all. I've done pretty much all of them, been a part of them. I've trained numerous officers. numerous deputies. I know what it takes to make the sheriff's office run, and I know what it takes to make the sheriff's office an agency that everybody can be proud of. I've seen a lot of things in my 10 years. I know that we're all human. Everybody makes mistakes, but we have to learn from our mistakes, and we have to move forward. This agency right now, this administration, has been unwilling to work with any other law enforcement agency within our area. They've been unwilling to work with any of the county government entities, and we have to fix that. Everybody has to work together. We can't do everything alone. Everybody needs to be on the same page. We're doing the same job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ensign. And we have a message from the current sheriff, Darren Varnell, who was unable to be here.
His message is, I will not be able to attend today. I am in the Bartlesville area all weekend assisting with tornado recovery efforts. Thank you for understanding.
All right, next we're going to be moving to the questions. The candidates, do feel free to move the microphone as you need it. So the candidate or candidates, whichever the question is intended, will be given 3 minutes to respond with 30-second remaining warning. And we're going to start with our District 2 Commissioner candidates. And you are welcome to put questions in the box as we go.
This first question is for all candidates. If your personal health interfered with you doing day-to-day duties, would you voluntarily step down? And we'll go ahead and start with Joe Higgins.
Yes. Why not? All right. Well, yeah. You guys want one too? It doesn't need any more than that. I do want to say one thing with the cooperation, that this is important. Like, no matter who you vote for or what's going on, our elected officials have to communicate and cooperate. This is so important. I just want everybody, it has nothing to do with this question at all, but it is so important right now that we cooperate in this county. We don't have the ability, we don't have the funds to fight each other. There's no point in it. It's not working. It's not going to work for us. So we've got to find some common ground with whoever gets elected. So anyways.
Okay, we'll move on to Larry Adams.
Yes, if anything happened to my personal health, I would step down immediately. And just like Mr. Higgins said, you know, while Sean was up there talking, I'd done the real quick math. You know, that's $396,000 a year out of your general fund. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yes, I would step down, no problem, if I couldn't do my job.
Okay. This is for the commissioners. Next question for all commissioner candidates. Thoughts on sheriff suing the commissioners because they can't manage their budget? We'll start with Larry Adams.
Well, my thoughts exactly on that is it should never happen because they submit their budget. It doesn't matter what office it is in that courthouse. They submit their budget. When that budget is submitted, it comes to the Board of County Commissioners. From the Board of County Commissioners, it goes to the Excise Board. The Excise Board, the Board of County Commissioners, and the court clerk, or not, the county clerk, all sat down and they disperse the funds where they need to go. then it's up to the excise board to extend anybody's budget. So if any department, it doesn't matter if it's sheriff's department or any department, if they come and they file a lawsuit against the Board of County Commissioners, they need to understand that they're not looking at the process correctly, because it's actually the excise boards that is the one that breaks it down, and if they see anything illegal, they are supposed to turn it over to the state auditors, and the state auditors are supposed to bring it to the court clerk, or the county clerk, not the court clerk, sorry. But him suing for extra money because he wasn't able to stay within his own budget is a personal issue. It's not an issue with the county commissioners, and that's my thought on that.
Okay, now Brian Donnelly.
Yeah, I don't think he should be able to sue the county commissioners. I don't think that's right. If he can't control his own money, that's his problem. Thank you.
We'll move on to Joe Higgins.
I totally, I already touched on this earlier, but I totally agree with Mr. Adams here. This is what's going on that a lot of people don't understand right now, that your elected officials are fighting amongst themselves, and we're just running around in circles spending money that the county doesn't have. So to me, this is the most ridiculous thing ever, that we've got adults in there arguing over that. Like, I just can't, as a taxpayer and as a citizen of Pawnee County, this is crazy to me. So I can't understand it. So that's just like what I touched on earlier. We've got to figure out a way to get some common ground and get this straightened out. So.
We're going to go ahead and have Joe Higgins continue with the microphone for this next question.
Uh-oh.
Do you plan on giving 100% of your time as the county commissioner, or do you plan on retaining your current job as well?
No, actually, so I've been a commercial pilot for the last 25 years, and it'll actually be 25 years this year. So I do a lot, but my current job I will be retiring from. So if I am elected county commissioner, I will be retiring and quitting my full-time flying job, and I will be devoting all of my time to being county commissioner for District 2.
Okay, this next question goes out to all commissioner candidates. Do you know where road money comes from to maintain the roads? We'll start with Larry Adams.
The money to maintain your county roads comes from fuel tax. It comes a little bit from some tags that are sold in the county, and a little bit from the alcohol tax that's sold in your county. None of that money comes out of your general budget.
Brian Donnelly.
Well, I have to agree with Larry on that, because none of that comes out of the general budget. It comes out of the taxes.
Joe Higgins.
Yes, what Mr. Adams says is correct. The one thing to touch on there is that the motor vehicle tax actually is, we don't get, Pawnee County District 2 doesn't receive a lot of motor vehicle tax for roads. So, and there's just not a lot there for it. Like everybody, we all have driven on the roads. We've seen the roads. We know they need work. But there is just not a lot available to work on the roads. They really have to be prioritized, and so I mean the main thing is finding other funding to take care of these roads and the work that it's going to take to maintain them.
Okay. Next question for all commissioner candidates. What qualifications make you the best candidate for the job? We'll go ahead and start with Joe Higgins.
Okay, well, I've been running small businesses in this county for years. I've been managing the finances of several small businesses. I either own or co-own several, small businesses. So we run the finances for all of those. Like, I understand the budgets, I understand budgeting, I understand, I understand all of that side of it, the business side of it. I've been running equipment my entire life. I own a lot of equipment. I lease equipment. We run trucks. I understand what it takes to keep equipment on the road. I understand what it takes to keep operators out there. I understand getting the crews. So all of that is definitely major challenges for Pawnee County, but for me, I've been doing a lot of that my entire life. So I definitely would be, I definitely could handle it.
Larry Adams?
Well, I've run a couple of businesses successfully. I've never dealt with a budget on the size of the county. The county commissioners as a board runs that, and I can't tell you why I would be the best candidate, because, you know, I really don't know who the best candidate is. I can tell you why I would like to be county commissioner. I can tell you what my skills and qualifications are, but I can't say that I'm better than anybody else because I've never felt that I was at any time in my life.
Brian Donnelly?
I just think I can do a good job at what I do. I've run equipment my whole life, and I know how to work that. I know how the budget works, so I just think I'd be a good job at it. I'll work hard every day for it.
Okay. This next set of questions, we're going to sheriff candidates. Last debate, you both said you had people coming to you to run for sheriff. Why do you want to be the sheriff? We'll go ahead and start with Rich Ensign.
I want to be a sheriff because I've been here for the last 10 years, serving this community, this county, for all 10 years. I've been here. I haven't been anywhere else. This is my home. This is where I live. This is what I want to do. I want to serve the community and the citizens of Pawnee County. Thank you.
Sean Price.
Hello? All right, just making sure it was on. Basically, to right or wrong, if there was somebody that was in charge right now that I thought was capable of doing the job, I wouldn't be up here. I don't think there's anybody out there that's more capable than me right now. The people that came to me, you know, it's not your friends and stuff. You know, of course, your buddy's going to tell you, hey, you ought to run for sheriff, you know. That's not the kind of people that were coming to me. Okay, it was people that I respected out in the business world and out in the community that were actually coming to me, wanting me to take this job on. I've been in charge of several, like Rich says, you know, yes, I've been out of the county, but I've been at facilities where I've been in charge of hundreds of staff, thousands of inmates. And what a lot of people don't understand is that prisons are all like a little city. It's not just about counting inmates and feeding them and making sure they stay in the fence. You have every aspect that you have to deal with. You have to deal with food service. You have to deal with canteen. You have to deal with maintenance. You have correctional industries that operate inside your fences that you have to deal with, like steel industries, furniture industries, things like that. All that has to be looked at and taken into consideration every time there's a decision made. Okay? The budgets that I've had to deal with, way bigger than the county's ever been. I've actually managed more people and more assets as a captain at a prison than the sheriff's department does. And so that's why I think I have the skill set to do this. Thank you.
Okay, this next one is for the sheriff candidates also, for Sean Price. It's been rumored that you were fired from DOC and not retired, as you are claiming. Can you elaborate on this?
Okay. I actually had that question put in there because I'm getting really tired of all the rumors flying around. I was not terminated from DOC, okay? Let's just go ahead and address everything and get it out of the way. It may eliminate some more questions down the road. One, I was terminated because I was bringing contraband in the facility. Another one was that I was terminated because I beat up an inmate that was restrained. Neither one of them is true. Anybody that knows me and has worked with me will tell you that that's two of the things I detest the most. I hate dirty staff, and I wasn't raised or taught to abuse my authority over somebody by beating somebody who can't defend themselves. That's never going to happen. Never has, never will, never did. If anybody doubts that I retired, right here is my commendation from the department whenever I left. Them wishing me best wishes and good luck on my retirement. If you need more than that, I've got the documents from HR where I filed for retirement and when it began and when it ended. I started burning leave back in May. My last day was in November. Okay? Now, if you go look on ODCR, will you see a document that says constructive termination and my name's on it? You will. Okay? And here's why. About 6 months before I retired, we got a new director. That director came in and he knew nothing about Department of Corrections, how to run corrections, and he had his own set of goals. Okay? A little bit after that, I was forced to move to another facility to go fix it, like I moved me around to the rest of them. And after I got there, all the support that I was promised to go fix this prison, I got none of it. Okay? I was actually even threatened to make sure and keep things quiet from the public, that they didn't want them knowing what was going on at the facility. I finally got fed up with it. I got tired of it and said, I can't do this no more. I can't support this administration. I mean, it was pretty much the same situation Rich was in with the Sheriff's Department. The only difference was it didn't take me 3.5 years to figure out that it was time for me to leave. Okay? So after I left, matter of fact, before my retirement was official, I got called by the chief of operations to come to his office about 2 months into my, while I was burning my leave, and he offered me a warden's position if I wouldn't leave. But I told him, nope. I said, I'm done. Unless your administration changes, I can't work for y'all anymore.
30 seconds remaining.
Then, after I was retired, a bunch of my ex-colleagues called me, and they were filing a suit against the department for mismanagement and what they were doing, and the technical term for what they're doing to everybody in that department right now is called constructive termination. Basically, they create an atmosphere or a situation you can't live with no more, and it forces you to quit. And so to help them out, yes, I joined in with their litigation.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
To give them
Time is
more
up.
numbers, and hopefully it'll help them out.
This next question is for sheriff candidates, and so everyone knows I'm putting two questions together. They're very similar. Do you have experience in managing a budget, and how do you plan on running the office with the allotted budget and not suing the county for more money? We'll start with Rich Ensign.
I have never actually had to run with a budget in any type of law enforcement that I've done. But I plan on putting the right people in the right positions that can help with making the decisions on how we can stay within the parameters of what we are dealt. We are also going to look at additional funding sources. We're going to look at what the contracts are that the Sheriff's Office currently has with the Creek Nation and with the U.S. Marshals, with the federal inmates, to see if those contracts are actually worth keeping or not, whether they actually make money or whether they actually cost the county money. We'll just look at whatever we can to stay within those parameters. I know that Pawnee County is not a wealthy county, and we have to be able to work with what we have. Thank you.
Sean Price.
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit hard of hearing.
Do you have experience in managing a budget, and how do you plan on running the office with the allotted budget and not suing the county for more money?
Just as I explained just then in my last statement, the budget alone just for things like clothing, mattresses, stuff like that for the inmates, it was probably way more than what the county's budget is alone. I mean, we're talking about budgets ranging in the 2-some, 3-some million apiece. that I've had to be had control over and had to be responsible for. And you have to learn ways to cut around things. Like down at Lark, we had a horrible infestation of bugs, okay? And they just could not get it under control, okay? I found some other unconventional methods to go in and take care of it with some natural remedies. And in 3 days had rid of it, and it cost us about $200 for that, compared to calling in a pest control and an extra day a week for another $2,000 a month. To get this one under control, fortunately, the current administration has made it very easy for me. All I got to do is go back to doing things the way we were doing it. I know everybody keeps talking about, well, you need to upgrade, you need to do this. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Why aren't we using the local medical to take care of that? The food budget, I know it's going to be a little higher. Why? Food costs more now, but it don't have to cost us $17,000 a month by far. Okay? And by working with other agencies instead of fighting with them, that eliminates, I've already been talking with the other agencies about the possibility of maybe consolidating our communications. That way it eliminates some of the stress on some of our budgets just for communications alone. So, yeah, I think I have a pretty good handle on how to get that under control. Thank you.
Okay. We have one more question for the sheriff's candidates, and we'll move on to the court clerk. This next one is for both candidates. What are your thoughts on the inappropriate relationships between supervisors and staff in the sheriff's office? We'll go ahead and start with Rich Ensign.
My thoughts on the inappropriate relationships between supervisor and staff. You know, I know where this is actually going. We'll just talk about it. So, I did have an affair with my current wife. I never was her supervisor. The other things that were going on between supervisors were none of my business. So I really can't speak on their behalf. But did I do some things wrong? Yes, I did. I'm human. Do I regret what I did? No, I don't. I don't regret it a bit. My wife that I have now made me a better man, and I don't regret it a bit. Thank you.
Sean Price.
As I stated at the last debate, I'm not going to comment on this one because I wasn't there. I didn't see what happened. I don't know what occurred. I just heard rumors. So I'll leave that up to y'all. But in my administration, I keep hearing people say when they're running for office that, well, what I do in my private life is nobody's business. Yeah, it is. Whenever you take on a job like this, what you do in your private life is everybody else's business. How you conduct yourself in the public reflects on you, and it also reflects on your department. And so everybody that's working on my staff will also understand this if they're going to work for me.
This next question is for court clerk candidates.
Yes.
Can an appointed official of the court ask another appointed office of the court for favors for personal gain? Is it legal? Is it ethical? Isla?
Absolutely not. It is not legal to do that.
Close enough.
Absolutely. Is it on? Absolutely not. You cannot do that.
Okay, this next question is for sheriff candidates. What partnerships, policies, and procedures do you plan to enact to ensure Pawnee County schools are better served? We'll go ahead and start with Sean Price.
Okay, you said Pawnee County schools particularly?
Yes, I'll reread that. What partnerships, policies, and procedures do you plan to enact to ensure Pawnee County schools are better served?
Okay. What they're doing right now, I don't know. I haven't seen nothing on social media or anything of any interaction they have with them at this time, or Cleveland schools or anybody. But that could be remedied by possibly initiating kind of like the DARE program thing. Maybe I've been approached about doing like a mini Explorer type program where kids that are interested in law enforcement, kind of expose them to some of the training that we get and that kind of stuff and the things that you have to deal with in that job. We could do that. Put on seminars, or not seminars, but classes on drugs. I used to do it all the time back when I was doing K-9. I used to contract out to schools with a K-9, and I'd come in and do programs for them. And I had a different program depending on the age level I was dealing with. You know, if we had like a kindergarten bunch, it was more like, oh, you know, skull and crossbones on the poison. Yeah, that's what drugs are. And we do that. And then we'd up it a little bit for the middle schoolers. And then on the high school level, I got pretty forward with them as far as, you know, what was expected and what could happen to them if they got involved with drugs. So we could look at implementing some stuff like that.
Okay. Rich Ensign?
I've been asked if we will bring back the Explorer program, and I assure you that we will bring back the Explorer program. I will meet with all the school administrators to find out what they need. Our kids are very important to me. They're probably the most important thing that we have is our children. We need to do whatever we can to keep them safe. Whenever I was a K-9 officer, I came to Pawnee schools a lot. Anytime they called, I'd bring the dog in and either do demonstrations or check bags. I will do whatever in my power to help with anything that any of the school administrators need.
Next question for sheriff candidates. Would you stand behind a police officer who is accused of sexually assaulting women? And how would you handle that situation? Sean Price?
Ma'am, I'm sorry. You said
That's okay.
Sexually assaulting a what?
Would you stand behind a police officer who was accused of sexually assaulting women? And how would you handle the situation?
Well, since he's one of my officers, once we get the initial report of it, I would turn that over to a different department to investigate it for me. Therefore, that takes out that gives all the transparency in the world that we're not hiding anything, and it would be investigated thoroughly. I would not take that lightly.
Rich Ensign?
I agree with Mr. Price. That would have to be turned over probably to OSBI, but I would not stand behind a police officer that was accused of sexual assault. But it would be investigated fully, and if need be, definitely prosecuted. Thank you.
Next question for sheriff candidates. How are you going to address the county drug problem? Go with Sean Price.
Well, first of all, y'all need to give us a break. And you need to let Rich answer first so I can understand what the question was. Address the county what problem?
The drug problem.
Oh, the drug problem. Oh. I don't know if any of y'all know this or not, but a few administrations ago, at one time, Pawnee County led the state in apprehensions and seizures and drugs and prosecution. They did it for 5 years in a row. And when I say the state, I don't mean just other sheriff's departments. I mean they led the state. They did more than OB&DD did. Okay? On top of that, they also had the lowest percentage that they ever had of sex offenders in the county. Okay? I intend to get back to that. It's going to take me a while because in the beginning we're not going to have the staff to get it done, but eventually I do want to get a task force together and I want to get on. I also want to work closer with OMMA on these grow places. I don't think they're being watched enough. The thing that gets me about them is they make all this marijuana, but you never see a vehicle come in or out hauling any. So where's it going? When's it going? Things like that. So I intend to work real close with them and OB&DD and OSBI on the grow houses that's going on right now. Thank you.
Rich Ensign.
We will definitely attack the drugs just like we have in the past. Some of the people that I will put in place are very good at it. Not sure about what's happening with the canine that's currently at the sheriff's office. I heard a rumor the other day that supposedly this dog has heartworms now and they may retire him and give him to one of the reserves, which I don't know whether that's true or not. I have to find that out for a fact, but we have hit the drugs pretty hard in the past, and some of the people that I will put in as deputies are some of the best in the state at doing that. Thank you.
Okay. Next question for sheriff candidates. What types of training will you provide for deputies and employees? We'll go with Rich Ensign.
We will not put reins on any type of training like the current administration did. The current administration sent out a message to all of the deputies telling them that they could no longer use county vehicles to go to training. They couldn't pay for specialized trainings out of their own pocket, that they could get all of the training that they need on the Association of County Commissioners of Oklahoma website. Granted, there are some good classes online, but most of the classes that ACO offers, they all come from Police One. Most of them are maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. They don't go in depth like in-person trainings. We will definitely push training harder than it's ever been. Because I have missed out on so many trainings over the last 10 years because we didn't have enough people where I could take off to go to them. And it happens to all of the deputies there, every one of them. Now, we also have multiple deputies that are certified instructors that will be coming with me, and we will do as many classes as we can. I would like to set up at least one 8-hour class every month, all year long. And I would like to do that in conjunction with the other departments in the county.
The only way I would restrict training on my officers is if I didn't feel that it really pertained to the area that we cover. There's no need in going to training that is for a suburban metropolitan type area when it will not benefit this county at all. So that would be the only thing I would actually restrict them from spending money on, or the county from spending money on. I mean, it's easy to not send people to training when you're not responding to calls. You don't need any training if you're not going to go take the call. But we're going to be taking our calls. But the basics of police work has never changed. You actually got to show up and get your building blocks, you know. This is what happened, victim, suspect, this is what occurred. But as far as training wise, I think probably what we probably ought to look at in the near future is dealing with the immigrant problem. That's going to work its way up into Oklahoma eventually, okay? Right now it's in Texas. It's going to eventually cross that border and get up in here. We probably ought to get some training on immigration. We probably ought to get some training, more training on fentanyl. Fentanyl is a very dangerous drug, and most people are not paying attention to it. That, and there's a new one out, and I can't remember the name of it at the point, but getting training on the things that you foresee coming into this area. But we won't be wasting money on going to training that doesn't affect us, that's more metropolitan based.
Next question is for the sheriff candidates. Have you ever been investigated and or terminated in your law enforcement career? And if so, why? We'll start with Rich Ensign.
No, I have not.
Sean Price.
Well, I've been doing this a little longer than Rich, so yeah. I know where this is going. There's another document, if you'll go look, shows I was terminated from Cleveland Police Department back in the day. They came and recruited me from Leroy, wanted me to come on board with them, and I did because I was young and it was more pay, better benefits, and I had a family. So I did that. What I didn't realize was what I was walking into. I was more geared towards county stuff where we were doing investigations and working in rural areas. Now I'm working in a city, and they were very ticket oriented. They were getting on to me about, well, your production's not high enough. I said, what do you mean my production's not high enough? Well, we're averaging this many tickets a week. You're only averaging this many. I said, yeah, but your tickets are for inspection sticker, tags out. You're writing up grandma and the local high school kids. Look at mine. Mine are all for possession of marijuana, possession of paraphernalia, resisting arrest, felony warrants, stuff like that. I think mine got a little more meat to them than what y'all are going after. Well, this went on for a little bit, and eventually the chief called me in. He asked me about it. He brought it up. I said the same thing to him. And you got to remember, this is 25-year-old Sean, not 54-year-old Sean that didn't know no better yet. He kind of got an attitude with me, and 25-year-old Sean got an attitude back and said, well, you know what? Instead of being worried about how many tickets I'm writing, you probably ought to be worried about what your officers are doing in the back of the ambulance. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, why don't you worry about that? Everybody in town knows about that. Well, Sean winds up terminated. And so, yes, I did fight it because I didn't think it was right. But that's the only time.
This next question is for Rich Ensign. You backed Sheriff Varnell and participated in all his dealings until you decided to separate yourself. How are you any different than him?
First off, I didn't participate in any of Sheriff Varnell's dealings. I worked for the people of Pawnee County. I did not work for Sheriff Varnell. That's why I stepped down from being the chief deputy and being in administration, which I didn't see a lot of the things that were going on the first 2 years of his term because I was on the road. I was working as a patrol deputy. I was working night shift by myself all weekend long. I didn't have any dealings with them for the first 2 years. Whenever they promoted me to sergeant, is the first time I really actually had any dealings with them. So I'm my own person. A lot of things that Sheriff Varnell has done, I don't agree with at all. And I really hate the better brand of law enforcement that he talks about and how he refers to himself as a lawman. I can't handle that. I've got twice as many arrests, convictions, cases with charges filed in way less time than the current sheriff does.
Okay, I have one more for sheriff candidates, and I'm combining the question. How would you screen potential employees, and will you allow husbands and wives to work together? We'll start with Sean Price.
As far as screening potential employees, or what I call vetting, you got to look at their background, look at their history, and that includes a lot of things. Whenever I was hiring people for DOC, we looked into lots of stuff. I had a guy that looked into their Facebook, looked into their social media, see who they're hanging out with. You have somebody come in and wanting to go to work, and then you find pictures of them hanging out with Irish mob gang members at the lake, that kind of stuff. No, that's just a no-no right there. And honestly, a lot of it, I go off a gut feeling. If I don't see any red flags, like I just said, social media things, maybe they've got a lot of debt or something and if they're wanting to come to work in the jail, the best way to get out of debt, start bringing stuff into your jail, get paid for it. You know, that could maybe be an issue. And I believe that's it. Mostly, yeah. I go off a gut feeling a lot when I'm talking to somebody on what my gut feeling is, on whether or not they're qualified for the job or not, or whether they have the ability to come in and learn. They may not have some knowledge on it. Because you got to remember, this is the county. You're not going to get people that's got a lot of experience coming and applying. You know, this may be their first job in law enforcement. They're going to have to learn. So you need to look at it and see if they have the ability to take that and run with it when you give them the learning tools. Thank you.
Rich Ensign.
We will do a thorough background investigation on whoever we hire. We'll look at everything that they've done in their career, what they've accomplished, what their training looks like. We'll take everything into consideration before we hire. Like Mr. Price said, it's a lot of times it's a stepping stone here. We have some really good people that work here that are from here, but sometimes it is hard to get employees. As far as letting married couples work there, I have no problem with married couples working. Wouldn't be able to be under their direct supervision and not working on the same shift.
This next question is for Commissioner candidate Larry Adams. Bucky, how does your experience as a veteran and an employee of New York City help you with leadership? Do you feel like county employees will support you in getting grants for funding, both federal and military funds?
Did they ask if I was an employee of New York City?
Employee of NYC, sorry.
No, I was never an employee of New York. I was in the military, stationed at Fort Drum, New York, and during snow removal times and blizzards, we helped the state of New York with snow removal.
There you
And I didn't catch the rest of the question I was trying to.
And then do you feel like county employees will support you in getting grants for funding? And the question was for both federal and military funds.
I don't see why a county employee anywhere would be against somebody trying to get grants. I don't know why they wouldn't. I would like to, one thing I would like to do, they have secretaries that work there in the county commissioner's office, and they're paid as District 4 out of your money. One thing that even if I'm not elected, one thing I'd like to see Pawnee County do is they need to hire a grant writer. They need to hire somebody that sits there and does nothing but research and write grants every day. There's state grants, there's federal grants. If you coordinate with the Pawnee DOT, you can get federal money through them, and actually it's Title, hang on, I can tell you, it's Title 2112, I think. It's actually, it's Section 1221, Title 74 of the Oklahoma State Statute, says that it's the responsibility of county commissioners to enter in intergovernmental agreements with the tribes in their districts. So, I mean, it's kind of the county commissioner's job to seek for federal money.
Thank you. This next question is for Commissioner candidates Joe Higgins and John Mashburn. Joe, people have made the comments that you can be a part-time commissioner effectively. What is your plan to make that work?
Well, I don't necessarily believe that you can be a commissioner part-time. There's a lot that goes into it. So for me, I mean, I'm going to make this will be my full-time thing. I'm going to put everything I have into it, and anybody that knows me knows that I go at everything 100%. So there's really no part-time in it for me. If I'm elected, it's not part-time.
Okay. Next question is for sheriff candidates. How would you instruct your deputies to handle traffic stops involving intoxicated drivers? We'll start with Rich Ensign.
I've always had a zero tolerance policy for DUIs, any kind of intoxicated driving, and that will not change. That will be my policy on that, is zero tolerance. If they're DUI, they go to jail.
Sean Price.
I'm not really sure where they're going with this question. I mean, if someone's blatantly drunk, then yes, you're going to have to arrest them and take them to jail. Hopefully, my guys, it'll be a little hard for them to come across that. Somebody's going to have to call them, because they better be out there on them back roads, and they better be out there in the rural areas instead of out there on the highway doing traffic enforcement like the highway patrol. That's what the highway patrol's for. But if they happen to come across somebody swerving down the road and pull them over and they're intoxicated, depending on the situation, yeah, take them to jail. Probably, that's their fault. Now, what I'm saying is, depending on the situation, you stop a guy and he's 20 yards from his driveway before you stop him. If he's not severely drunk and a threat to anybody anymore, why not call his wife out and say, hey, pull the car up in the driveway and tell him not to do this again? You got to have some common sense sometimes also. That's it.
This question is for sheriff candidates. You both talk about running a better department, but nobody mentioned improving efforts to respond to citizens. What are you planning to do to respond to the citizens, especially when calling for assistance? We'll go with Rich Ensign.
We have started the planning for Citizens Academy, where we'll put on classes so the citizens know basically what we're doing, when we're doing it, and it gives them more insight into how they can interact better with us. I mean, running a better department is going to your calls, going and taking those calls and doing those investigations and figuring things out for the citizens. That's what we'll do. We're gonna make sure that everybody gets treated fairly. We're gonna do the investigations. We're gonna make the arrests. We're gonna try to get people's property back. And the drugs in this county are the leading cause of everything else. That's where the property crime starts. That's where everything starts, is basically with the drugs.
Sean Price?
Again, repeat the question.
Sure. You both talk about running a better department, but nobody mentioned improving efforts to respond to citizens. What are you planning to do to respond to citizens, especially when calling for assistance?
Calling for assistance, that's your job. I mean, you get a call, you respond to the call. They're just not responding to calls right now. As far as being more interactive with the citizens, one, we're not going to hide. This current administration just hides from everybody. They won't even talk to the other county offices or the other law enforcement agencies, much less a citizen, because they're afraid of the questions they're going to get asked. I'm not afraid to get asked the questions. If you're upset with something that my department did, come talk to me, because I'm the guy in charge. I'm the one that's going to answer for it, okay? And my staff's going to know that too, that I'm depending on them to conduct themselves properly so it doesn't reflect on the department or me. They need to get more interactive again with the communities. When's the last time anybody's seen the sheriff's department out at the rodeo? Or Pioneer Day in Cleveland? Or Labor Day up in Ralston? Or anything like that? They don't. They don't want to be involved. They don't want to get out there so they don't get asked the hard questions or bump into somebody they don't want to see. If you're doing your job and if you're taking care of business, you don't have a problem being interactive with your citizens. And the open door policy at the sheriff's office is going to come back. People not being allowed to come into the sheriff's office and ask questions, or another county officer being able to come down and discuss something with you, that is so silly. It's so silly. This county is not big enough for us to separate like that. We've all got to be working together in order to get to the main goal, okay? Because there's just not enough of us, and there's not enough money to go around or anything else. We've all got to cooperate, and that includes cooperating with the citizens.
We have another question for sheriff candidates. What are your thoughts on sheriff and employees utilizing department vehicles and fuel to work additional jobs and profit off of taxpayers' money? Go with Rich Ensign.
I disagree with the taking of the county vehicles to the Walmart shifts. I did do it once because I had a shift at Walmart and I was on the east side of the county 2 hours past my shift. I asked permission to take the county unit over there one time. Every other time that I have worked over in Tulsa, I have driven my personal vehicle. I know that the undersheriff now has driven his, I don't know how many times. I did an investigation on the former undersheriff prior to him, and it was the same thing. There's there's a lot of waste there. Most agencies, as long as you're inside your county, they allow it. Tulsa allows it inside Tulsa. Tulsa County does. Osage County does. Now, I do know that the policy here at the sheriff's office was written, and it was actually signed off by the district attorney to where we could, with permission, take them up to 30 miles outside the nearest county line. And I don't really agree with doing that. I never did it, but the one time because I was 2 hours past my shift on a call, and I still had to make it to work the part-time job, and I couldn't make it all the way back to Pawnee and then back to Tulsa to be there on time.
Sean Price?
I'm not going to restrict anybody from having a part-time job. As I stated earlier, it's hard enough to get people to come to work for you at the county level when they only pay what they do. Everybody has to have a secondary job. I did back when I was working for the county. Always did. But the thing of it is you got to make sure it doesn't conflict with your primary job. Okay? If it conflicts with your primary job, then you can't do it. You don't plan on going and working a shift somewhere whenever you know you've got a shift to work here, or it may run over. Okay? Being a deputy, you never know what you're going to get. You're sitting there 30 minutes before you're fixing to get off shift, and you get a call, and it's a major call, and now you're going to be out till 9, 10 o'clock at night taking care of it. You may be chasing somebody that dished a car and ran on somebody. You may be on a manhunt. You don't know. So you better be planning your days. Your days off are the only days you're going to have to go do your secondary job, because that's the only time you can make sure that you're not going to be needed at your primary job. That'll be the rule that we go by but no, we won't use county equipment ever, even if it's your day off. I don't care what the DA signed off on or whatever, or AG, whoever it was. I don't like the look of it. I just don't like the look of it. Even if it's in the county, you're still utilizing county gas, county equipment, wear and tear on that vehicle to go do a job for a private entity. Okay? When you're doing that, you should be working for that private entity and not be representing my department.
This next question are for the commissioner candidates. The commissioner's office told the county fair board they would get an upgrade to fairgrounds and voted in favor of. Now they have gone back and tabled it. What are your thoughts? We'll start with Joe Higgins.
Say that again. They tabled it after they approved it?
They tabled it. Now they have they voted it in. Now they have gone back and tabled it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know the details of that without looking into it, but I don't understand why, if they all agreed on it and they decided that they were going to do that for the fair board, other than that it might not be in the budget. I've been going over this budget for the last few weeks, and it's difficult. I'm honestly surprised. I mean, they definitely have to prioritize things, that's for sure. So I don't, without looking into it more and doing a little research on it, I wouldn't understand though why they would have voted on it and then tabled it and went back on their words. So.
Larry Adams.
Back when McCormick was in office, on his first term, there was a lady that's associated with the fair board that asked that the announcer stand be redone. She asked me, got a welding machine, everything else, know how to do it. Went up there, talked to McCormick, need $1 million liability policy. Got the policy, said, hey, as soon as you tell me I can start construction, I'll start construction. Then they threw another hurdle out there. Well, it's got to be an engineered staircase. Not a problem. Got the blueprints for it. Here, you write the check to the railroad yard engineered it. Here it is. How many years ago was that? Nothing's been done to the announcer stand. They always throw hurdles in there to do anything to stop something from going on at the fairgrounds. When the firefighter tax was passed to give a third of that penny to the rural fire departments, the county commissioners promised then that they were going to get a piece of that penny that was left over. And that's what they're going back on now and that they've tabled. So, but you got to remember for the fairgrounds, you know, that's for the kids, Pawnee County, that's your 4-H kids, that's your FFA kids. If you're not willing to invest in your future, what do you got?
Brian Donnelly.
I'm kind of like Joe. I don't really know what's going on with that, so I really can't say a whole lot. But if they should just have to look at it again, is all I know.
Next question for the commissioner candidates. If an office spends all of their budget, are you going to give them money from general fund? We'll start with Larry Adams.
If an office runs out of their money in their budget that they proposed, it goes to the excise board to adjust the budgets. The Board of County Commissioners or a single county commissioner cannot go in and say, okay, we're giving you more money. It goes to what's called the budgeting board that's made up of the Board of County Commissioners, the excise board, and the county clerk.
Brian Donnelly.
I have to agree with Larry on that. That's all I can do. That's the way that it works.
Joe Higgins.
I think, yeah, Mr. Adams said it really well there. They're the ones proposing the budget, so I think it's important that they're the ones bringing the budget to the board. So I don't understand what the problem is there. It's not much that the county commissioners can do, the board can do once that they've approved their budget. So.
Can I add something to that? It's very clear and laid out in the Oklahoma State Constitution how the budget for the county has to be done.
Next question is for sheriff candidates. I have heard OHP do not like bringing people they have picked up to Pawnee County Jail. Do you know the reason? Sean Price?
All right, say it again.
I have heard OHP do not like bringing people they have picked up to Pawnee County Jail. Do you know the reason?
From what I've been hearing while I've been going around campaigning, I think it's probably, more than likely, it's going to be probably the bookend process. From what I'm understanding, they're currently requiring the arresting officer to stay there and complete the bookend process every time they bring somebody over, and it's pretty lengthy, which I don't understand why. That's never been the way I've known it to operate. Whoever's the jailer or the dispatcher on duty, they would do the bookend. My plan is to return to that. That's my first guess. The other guess, I don't know. Maybe it's the conditions. I know that the sheriff complained that he took over a jail that was run down whenever he came in. Well, I went and pulled up the jail inspections for the jail. The last jail inspection before he came in, they only had one finding. And that was because they had a dryer fire, because they didn't check the lit trap often enough. The next year after he took over, they had 18 findings. Okay, several for sanitation, maintenance, intercom's not working, fire alarm system not working, things like that. Matter of fact, the fire alarm system on the 2024 inspection, it hadn't been inspected since 2020. So as far as why it is, that's my guess. My first guess is going to be probably because of the bookend process, and it needs to be cleaned up.
Rich Ensign?
Yeah, I got a phone call from a trooper about 2 weeks ago, and he told me that it is specifically the bookend process. They've made it so lengthy, making the officers they're asking the same questions at the same time that the booking officer is. they have to handwrite a PC affidavit in order to drop the inmate off so the charges can be listed. Now, Troop, the Highway Patrol, their policy is whenever they make an arrest, they bring somebody in, they don't leave the property of the jail until they turn in their PC affidavit. So that he told me, he said, why do I have to do it twice? Why do I have to do their job? He said, we're not coming back down here until they fix it. Said if we get called down here for a crash, we'll come down here, but we're not coming down here from Osage County unless that's fixed. And they haven't been coming down for quite a while. They don't come down here and do routine patrols. They haven't for about 2 years, for the most part. And I don't know whether you know this or not, but there are 0 state troopers assigned to Pawnee County. You have some down on the turnpike, but that's where they work. They work on the turnpike. They don't get off of the turnpike. The Osage Pawnee guys, most all of them are Osage County. They come down here whenever they get a crash call, and that's about it. They don't come down here just to patrol anymore.
And this is for sheriff candidates. How will you fix the broken relationships between the sheriff's office and other agencies in the county? Sean Price?
All right, I heard that one. First of all, just being more present. When I started campaigning, I was going up to the sheriff's department or the county courthouse and requesting records and things. The thing I kept getting asked by everybody was, "Hey, Sean, if you win, are we going to be able to work together?" And I was like, "Well, why wouldn't we?" And I was just kept getting told repeatedly that the current sheriff wants nothing to do with anybody in any other office. I mean, we can't operate that way. There's got to be more interaction. Even if I don't have a reason to come talk to them, at least go over and visit every now and then. Just say, "Hey, how are things going?" You know, talk about what's been going on. You know, something may come up you don't realize. I've already been talking with the other 2 law enforcement agencies, Pawnee PD and Cleveland PD. You know, discussing where we can help each other out. I've even went over and talked to the tribe and discussed working with the tribal police over there. But we've got to get that situation repaired and those relationships repaired because we've all got to work together.
Rich Ensign?
I've always been willing to work with anybody and everybody. It's not going to change. We have a lot of things that we're going to have to fix as far as relationships go, but we, in the past, all of the agencies, including Troop, we worked together. We used to have troopers come down and help us with search warrants all the time. Now they won't even come down and do patrols. Cleveland, Pawnee PDs, we used to help each other all the time. And I'm all for that. We need that. It's way easier when you're working together. In a small community like we have here, everybody has to work together. And that includes all the county government entities, not just the law enforcement. And I've listened over there at the sheriff's office to the current administration, and they're whining and crying about everybody and how bad they get treated. Well, it all started there because it never happened like that before. But I've always been willing to work with anybody and everybody, and I still will.
This next question is for Rich Ensign. Why did you feel it was important to make a brochure to hand out today with your pros and their cons?
because I really feel like I'm the most qualified candidate. I've been here at the sheriff's office. I've been in this community doing this job for 10 years. I know the people. I know this county. This is what I do.
This is for the sheriff candidates. What are your goals for the department? Sean Price?
First goal is going to have to be to get the budget back under control. We're going to have to probably operate on beans and cornbread for a while, but we'll get by. We got to get back to a mindset of doing things because it's a need and not a want. There's a lot of things, like I discussed earlier, that we can cut off the top and get a lot of that budget back under control. Got to get some staff back in, get that built up. But in the end, my goal is, in the first year, just get it back to operational, repair the relationships that we've got, get the budget back under control, and get to operating smoothly again. After that, we brought up the drug thing before. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of drug things going on. There's a lot of places that need to be investigated. People are coming to me every day when I'm going out campaigning. But right now, I don't have the authority to do that. But once I get there, we'll either take care of it, or maybe we'll make it bad enough they just decide to leave the county and not want to do their drugs, not sell their drugs in our county. Like I said, at one time, the county led the state for 5 years in drugs and prosecution of that. I want to get back to that, okay? The sex offenders, they used to hate to come to Pawnee County. They would leave Pawnee County, okay? That needs to be ramped back up. Going out and telling the people in the community, when one's moving in, you've got the right to do that. You can go out and tell the people living in that area, hey, this guy's moving in and you need to know. He's one of them. We need to get back to putting that into operation. Eventually, maybe get back to having a task force if we can figure out how to do that again. That's back when we were doing really well in the state. But I want to get it back to something that people depend upon. I want to get it back to something that you don't go, oh, well, don't bother calling them. They won't even show up. Don't bother calling them. It'll go nowhere. Or you don't call them because the last person that you talked to, the last time one of them showed up, they were very unprofessional with them. And so they just don't want to deal with them anymore. I want this department to be one that everybody talks well of and has a lot of respect for. And that's where we're going to get to.
Rich Ensign?
First, we're going to have to balance the budget. The budget's not big, and Mr. Price is right, definitely about that. Repairing all the agency relationships, from even just the courthouse to all the other law enforcement agencies, to the fire departments, to EMS, and the relationships that the citizens have, and the confidence the citizens have in the sheriff's office, that they know that whenever they call us, we'll be there. And we have to provide that a higher quality of law enforcement than what you've seen this administration has given.
Okay. This next question is for the commissioner candidates. How are you going to ensure there is continuous security for the courthouse? Larry Adams?
Well, it's my understanding that we are in charge of all real property, but the security of that property is through the sheriff's department. Now, I might be wrong, but if it's not, we would hire a security guard when times are needed. They just had a high-profile case here recently where they had a deputy secure the courthouse. If it needed to be a full-time employee, I don't really know. I haven't looked at the budget. I don't have a copy of the budget, but you'd have to find a way to fund it.
Brian Donnelly.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about all that, because I don't know who's responsible for it. So it looks like to me it'd be the sheriff's department's job, all that I know.
Joe Higgins.
Well, it's my understanding, as Mr. Adams was talking about, that the sheriff's department takes care of that, and that goes back to the cooperation that needs to be reestablished in this area because, I mean, if we can get back to where we need to be and cooperating with the sheriff's department, it'd probably be a pretty simple matter of getting security there and taking care of the courthouse. So that's cooperation.
We're going to also pass this on to the sheriff candidates. Rich Ensign, how are you going to ensure there is continuous security for the courthouse?
We'll work with the commissioners. I'm not sure exactly how the statute reads. I'd have to research that, but it was explained to me by this administration that we don't have to provide courthouse security, that we only have to provide security for the courtroom. I don't know if that's true. I haven't read that statute, but we definitely need to have security in the courthouse, and we'll do whatever we need to do in cooperation with the county commissioners.
Sean Price.
Yeah, when I was going to the courthouse and requesting records and stuff, and the term courthouse security, I heard that, and I'm looking around at what's happening, and I was like, okay, this doesn't look like security to me. There's a desk sitting out front, nobody's sitting there, you never know where the guy that's supposed to be sitting there is at, he's off in another office somewhere. That's not security. If I'm gonna run courthouse security, there'll be one entrance in and out of that place for the public. All the other doors, yeah, the people that work there, they'll have their little fob or whatever to get in and out the other doors, but the main entrance will be the only one that'll come in and out. There's got to be some things done to fix that though, because from my understanding, the handicapped entrance is on the north side, and there's not one on the south side. So if we would have to do some renovations or add a ramp or something like that to make that accomplished. It would be a daily thing that anybody coming in and out would at least have to empty their pockets, be wanded, go on up. When we have a high-profile court case going on, probably even implement something, what's called a cell sense tower. It's unintrusive, but it's a very dependable piece of equipment, much better than a walk-through metal detector. And it's also portable, and you could utilize that in your jail and make other use of it other than just down in the courtroom. I plan on having enough staff, hopefully, in the jail that, number one, every jailer I have, I'm going to put through reserve school, okay? Anybody working in the jail is going to at least be a reserve, so that way I have some authority in the courthouse, okay? That way I can utilize them to help escort the inmates down to the courtroom and stay in the courtroom with them. That way your security guy at the front door doesn't have to leave and be gone, okay? And on days that we have high-profile cases, we'll know they're coming. That's when you up your staff. You get a couple extra deputies to come in. Thank you.
This next question is for sheriff candidates. We have rural residents that have been assigned a 911 address which is inconsistent with the mailing address. This can be very confusing when help is trying to locate the caller. This could be life-threatening. Why can't the 911 address and the mailing address be the same? Sean Price?
Short answer is I don't know. I'll have to look into that. My guess would be that there's probably a glitch between, I hate to say this, my wife used to work there and she might get mad at me, but I don't know, does the assessor's office have anything to do with that as far as addressing? Okay, they did. Who took it over? Okay. Okay, well, I mean, it's just a matter of figuring out where that got overlooked. Because evidently it used to be okay, but there must be a glitch in the system somewhere now. So yeah, we would just have to investigate that and go and look into how it changed and why that gap became. and figure out how to get it fixed.
Rich Ensign?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened. I do know that there are a lot of places in the county that the addresses that have been assigned are wrong. They're off by a mile. There's a lot of places in the county where if you enter it into GPS, it's not going to get you there because it's all a mile off. I spent 2 weeks going through on Google Maps, sending in corrections, and none of them have ever been updated. I tried to fix it on the GPS to where all of those addresses would come up on GPS, but nothing had been approved. And I mean, I've been here for 10 years. I know where the GPS is off. I know how to get there. I pretty much know where you live and probably know your dog's name. But that's what I did. If there was any problem with a deputy getting to a call, they always called me. That way they could get there. But yes, there is problems with the addresses. I do agree with that. And some of the assigned addresses are at least a mile off. I don't know how that all happened.
Okay. This next question is for sheriff candidates. How would you improve the department needs? Sorry, I'm reading this here. The department needs with people with mental illness. Sean Price?
Okay, are we talking about people in the jail, or are we talking about people out in the county, citizens?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, both of them? All right. One of the facilities that I worked at was Joseph Harp. It's the largest mental health facility in the state. That was created back when Veneta was shut down. That was an eye-awakening experience for me. You dealt with the mental illness thing on a daily basis about 10 times a day. We had some very good professionals there. There's a place in Cleveland, can't think of the name of it. What is it, Clint? Yeah, Grand Lake. Probably work very close with them. From what I've heard from Cleveland Police Department, they've been very good to work with. We'll probably utilize them a lot.
Rich Ensign?
The state governing agency of law enforcement, CLEAT, only requires 2 hours of mental health training every year. I think that it's beneficial to have more than that. We used to use Edwin Fair, which was the state mental health, and that was really, really bad. We'd wait hours. I waited one time for 13 hours for him to show up. Grand Lake Mental Health came in. We all got iPads where we could put them in contact with a mental health worker directly from the front seat of our vehicles, and that's been a really good tool for law enforcement in Northeast Oklahoma. I think I have one person that will be coming with me that is crisis intervention certified, and we will require a little bit more mental health than just 2 hours a year. It needs to be done. I don't really know why CLEAT only asked for 2 hours a year.
This next question is for all candidates. Why do you think the citizens have the impression that all the county offices are fussing? What's causing it? We'll start with Brian Donnelly. Why do you think the citizens have the impression that all the county offices are fussing? What's causing it?
Well, I really don't know what's causing it because I'm not in there to do it, but evidently the police department or the county and the sheriff's department and the commissioners are fussing over the budget, and that's about the extent of it that I can think of, that I would know of, because I'm not up there.
Go with Isla Potts.
I think a lot of people do think that all the offices are fussing with each other. It's not all the offices. There is a lot of discord, but it's not all of the offices against each other.
Okay. Sean Price.
As far as the offices in the county, maybe I just don't get involved enough to hear all the fussing going on. But I mean, I don't know that there's really a whole lot of fussing going on other than with the commissioners and the sheriff not communicating with the other offices. I mean, most of that's probably coming from the current sheriff. I mean, that's the only person I'm hearing any complaints about. I mean, when he's in the paper every other 2 weeks, 3 weeks, filing another injunction or something against the county commissioners because he wants more money or he doesn't think they handled this or that right, then yeah, the public's going to think there's discord. And then that kind of bleeds over into them believing that, well, it's just the courthouse in general, when it's really not. It's mostly them. And I don't know, I don't understand what his thinking is on it, because he's filed these injunction stuff and most people don't know it. The commissioners have spent just a little under $30,000 fighting all these injunctions and legal fights with the sheriff. You know, he's wanting more money, but then he's turning around and forcing them to spend more money just to fight him because they don't have money to give him. But in general, yeah, I think that a lot of the heat's coming from the sheriff's department, between them and the commissioners, and I think a lot of people just think it's general discord in the whole sheriff's department or in the whole courthouse, when it's really kind of centered around just a couple of offices.
Larry Adams.
I really don't know of any fights going on in the courthouse other than the county commissioner and the sheriff over the budget. I do know that there are a couple of agencies inside the courthouse that are a little upset because their budgets were cut. Some of their postage wasn't able to be paid for, things like that. But they're not really upset at the county commissioners over that. They're just upset that the money wasn't there. I mean, when you're paying $393,000 a year out of your general budget for food and medical aid for your jail, what else is there to pay for? I mean, Pawnee really doesn't get a whole lot of money. Joe can probably tell you what the gross budget is, and I'm just off the top of my head, I would say it was either under $1.5 million or flat right at $1 million in the general budget. There's not a lot of money there.
Rich Ensign.
I don't know of any other fighting, any other discord inside the county courthouse. The only thing that I can speak to is the sheriff and the commissioners, the sheriff and the county clerk's office, the sheriff and the court clerk's office. That's all I know of. I don't know anything other than that.
Joe Higgins.
Yeah, the only I've been running around, you know, talking to a lot of people and doing a little research on that. And mainly right now, it's the commissioners and the sheriff's department. I don't think there's a lot of discord or a lot of disagreements among all the offices. I think mainly it's focused between the sheriff's office and the commissioners, and because of that, they've had to both hire outside law firms for litigation. So, I mean, this is definitely something that's not good for any of us. And as a Pawnee County citizen, this is just very frustrating. So, that's got to change. That's got to change.
Okay. This next question is for sheriff candidates. What measures will you take to ensure officer accountability and conduct, and what would you do if you had to arrest one of your deputies? Rich Ensign?
First off, we'd have to make sure that we review all the policies and procedures and make sure everybody adheres to those policies and procedures. If I had to arrest one of my own deputies, they're going to get arrested. If they deserve to be arrested, then that's what's going to happen. They have to be held to a higher standard than the general public, and if they're committing a crime, they're going to get arrested.
Sean Price?
Well, I'm not sure what the situation would be, but I mean, any staff member that I have working for me, if we pull up on a scene and they're involved in it and it's obvious that they are in the wrong, yes, they will be arrested immediately. I would probably contact Osage County and see if I could bring them up there and have them held there instead of in my own county jail, just to eliminate any suspicions or anything by the public that anything wasn't handled correctly, and then immediately turn over the information to another entity to finish out the investigation.
Next question for the sheriff candidates. Do you know how much money the citizens have spent on the lawsuit that was filed against the commissioners? Rich Ensign.
I don't have any idea how much money was spent by the citizens, the taxpayer money. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'd have to look into it.
Sean Price.
I just stated it a while ago. I went and requested records on that. And due to the fact that you've got a sheriff filing against a DA, both of their legal representation is the DA. Well, then he has to recluse himself from that position. He can't represent either one of them, so that forces both of them to go get private attorneys in order to do anything with each other. And when I said just under $30,000, it was right around, if I remember right, it was right around the $27,000 mark is what they've spent so far on attorney fees fighting the sheriff.
Next question for the sheriff candidates. What qualifications make you the best candidate for the job? Rich Ensign.
I've been doing the job for 10 years. I've been here for 10 years. I have been a very proactive and competent officer over the past 10 years. I have 200 plus cases that receive prosecution that I don't know exact amount of arrests that I've made because I never kept track of anything. It's all on ODCR. You can look it up for yourself. There's a lot of cases on there that I've received prosecution on. I know the people, I know the criminals, and I know this county.
Sean Price.
As I stated earlier, I've done every position this job's going to be covering. I'm going to have authority over from one to the other, from dispatching to investigations, patrolling, everything. A lot of people have a misconception about working at Department of Corrections in the positions I've been in. I've been chief of security, I've been deputy wardens there. You're constantly doing investigations. If you're not investigating an inmate, you're investigating a staff member, something. I've been involved with the feds on the, back when they went and picked up the Irish mob guys and the Aryan Brotherhood on that big RICO case. Yeah, I was involved in that deal. One of the breakthroughs in it came from my facility because we were keeping tabs on an inmate there. I haven't kept track of how many arrests or how many cases I've done over my life. Didn't worry about it, just did the job and went on. Also, as I stated before, being responsible for these places, I've had to deal with more staff, more budget than this place is ever going to have, okay? Somebody asked me the other day, said, why do you want to do this? Why don't you just enjoy retirement? Why do you want this headache? And I said, this isn't a headache. I said, you want a headache? Go run one of them places. I said, you're sitting there waiting for that phone to ring all night long, okay? You're constantly worried about there's going to be a water line break. How are you going to fix that? That's going to affect all this. Is somebody going to get stabbed tonight? We got to go in and do an investigation on that. It's 24/7. This is a small department compared to what I've ran before. I don't see an issue one running this.
Okay, we are now in closing. Each candidate will have 5 minutes for a closing statement. We'll start with Joe Higgins.
All right, well, again, I just want to thank everybody for coming out here and listening to all the candidates. It's good to see that some people are concerned. The main thing I want to point out is just get out and vote and let people know. Get out and vote. I don't think people understand how important it is that this is their county government. This is they can't complain if they don't get out and actually vote. So I just want to go over real quickly, my priorities, like I said, public safety. The roads are obviously a major issue in this county and in District 2 at least, and that's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take time. It's something it's happened over years, and so I'm not making any promises because there's a lot that has to be done out there. And then the cooperation that we've been going over. It doesn't matter who you elect. We need the elected officials to be working together and getting along for the better of all the citizens of Pawnee County. So that's really one of the main things that I'd like to see out of this, no matter who gets elected in this, that we have, that the commissioners can get along with the sheriff's department and we can cooperate to get things done that need to be done in this county, and we can quit wasting our money on things that doesn't do any of us any good. So I want to point that out. I also want to point out that as far as the commissioners go, everybody just wants to talk about roads, and I get that. But the commissioners, the board of commissioners, they're basically running your county, and District 2 is running the courthouse, and so I think people just need to understand that there's more to the commissioner side than just taking care of the roads. So again, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Thanks for sticking through this, and thanks again.
Larry Adams.
Mr. Higgins is absolutely right. There's a lot of moving parts to being county commissioner. If you wanted to sit here and go through, there's probably 11 different boards that they sit on throughout the course of the year. They're in charge of anybody that handles any of the county's money. They have the right to audit. It doesn't matter what department it is. They sit on the board for the health department. They work with SNAPs. Any place that county funds go, the county commissioners have a part in it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you elect. If you don't vote, nothing's ever going to change. If you don't do nothing and you act like you don't care, nothing's going to change. But something has to change. The roads are a big priority, but, you know, I mean, the proportionment they get from the state to put into the cash accounts to go to fix the roads barely cover the payroll. I mean, they had an allotment, a cash allotment that come in from the tax money that was $43,000. Their payroll's $41,000 a month. It's not that nobody cares, I guess. There really is no money. You got to find the money to put there. The county commissioner, you have to operate off of imaginary funds. You can't pull funds out of the general fund and throw it into the road fund. And these monies are all allocated where they go. You can't just magically move them around. There's several laws. There's like 300 different pages just in Title 19 that covers what the county commissioner does. It's a very complex job. But my main concern is getting where you can drive up and down the road without tearing your vehicle up. You got to get federal money. You have to hunt for those federal grants, and it doesn't matter who you hire to do this job, it's got to be done. So that's pretty much it.
Brian Donnelly.
I agree with both of these guys. Everything is great. I mean, it's everybody's got to work together. We got to get the money to do everything with, and there's only so much money to do it, and there's only so many people to do the job. And getting them out there, getting somebody that cares to do the work, is another thing that's going to be tough to do, to pay for what the county pays. So everybody just needs to get out there and vote. Get whatever you can. Get everybody involved, and we'll do the best that we can do. That's all I can say. All right. Thank you.
Rich Ensign.
I'm not a politician. I'm a cop. I've never claimed to be a politician. I've served this community in law enforcement for the past 10 years. And I want to continue to do that. I want to provide a quality law enforcement to this county that all the citizens can be proud of. I want to mend all of the relationships with the other county law enforcement agencies. I think that together we can really make a big difference. We used to do it all the time. I think we can get back to that. I need you guys just to get out and vote. Make your voice heard. Thank you.
Sean Price.
You know, it happens all the time in departments everywhere. You know, sometimes either through a mistake or through deception, the wrong people get put in charge of things. And they get put into positions of power that they don't know how to deal with. And that's only a problem when all they want is the authority. They don't want the responsibility of what that position entails. And as a sheriff, I mean, you're supposed to be in charge of keeping the citizens of your county safe. But also, you also are in charge of all your operations, and you're responsible for that, okay? In my administration, we'll get this budget back under control. We're going to get the sheriff's department back to where it should be. You know, one of my old bosses always told me, he said, you always want to leave somewhere in better shape than you inherited it. Make it better for the next guy. You want to be able to hand off a better product later on. All this petty fighting back and forth between the sheriff and the commissioners, that's done. We're going to get in our budget. We're going to stay in our budget. All they're doing is wasting time and money that this county can't afford, okay? And like I said, under me, you'll get back to having a sheriff's department that you can be proud in again.
Isla Potts.
I would just like to say thank you for everybody that came today. Public speaking is not my thing, and it makes me really nervous, but well, you didn't have to do much. I am happy to see people show up, and this is how you make an informed decision. This is how you know who you're going to vote for. So I appreciate you coming, and I would love to have your vote on June 18th. Thank you.
Ladies and, whoa. If you was asleep, you're not now, are you? Guaranteed. Hey, I'd like everybody to give all these candidates a big round of applause. It takes a lot of nerve to get up here and talk, I guarantee you. And also, please, a round of applause for the moderator, Lisa McClellan. We couldn't have done this without her. And the city of Pawnee, Mayor Cotto. They donated their time to do this because they know how important this voting is and the voice of the people. So, what? Boy, I get excited. I miss this. So, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you all very much for coming tonight. Once again, let's give everybody a round of applause. And this is it. We're closing. Thank you.